Good morning, everybody. Today I want to talk to you a little bit about saddle pads, specifically about half pads. And I want to focus on two types. These two I use over and over and over again in a number of different situations. They're the good old standby sheepskin pad, which is what we're going to start with. And then the next one is going to be a little thin line pad. Now, the sheepskin is really good for a couple of situations. One, if your horse is coming back into condition, like Miss Ellie is here, the sheepskin can really help you. Oh, baby girl. The sheepskin can really help you when you have a horse that's a little bit underweight or under-muscled, and actually Ellie is coming up here pretty well, but she still has just a little bit of hardness to her back. And if we throw a saddle right on that, it tends to be a little bit uncomfortable. Your horse braces a little bit, and you're not going to get them to work really over their back like you need them to build that muscle back. So a sheepskin like this one is a great option in those situations. Now, two little caveats on that, and we're going to show you those, are the sheepskin can work against you in a few cases. This one we know works well on Miss Ellie, and I'm doing it right now without a pad. Normally we'd have a pad underneath it, but your sheepskin, when you put it up underneath here, it tends to bring the whole saddle up a bit, but it can also sometimes create too much padding up in the front, which can either have your saddle, and I've got this one kind of tilted back because of where I put it, it can make your saddle sit pommel high, or when you girth it up, it can make it too tight right in here. So you want to make sure that you don't create that kind of a situation. But in many cases, as I say, a sheepskin on a horse that's a little bit under-muscled can be a really good option. Now, for those of you who are going to ask, well, what about a gel pad? What about a foam pad? Sheepskin, 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 sheepskin. In this situation, this is what I would recommend. A lot of those other pads can be too much, and they can get you into trouble if the fit isn't great, much more quickly and easily than a sheepskin pad will. I love these. All right, so our next pad, if y'all will follow me over this way, our next pad, my other model has already picked up and thrown on the ground for me, so I'll pick it back up. And this is an old decrepit one, but this is a thin line pad. It's their basic pad, and all it really does is give you a shock absorption. I love these. This is my personal old pad that's about to be retired, but these are great. They don't contribute a lot of width, if you look at it, but it gives you just that little bit of extra padding that, again, a horse that is building up condition, or for some horses that are very sensitive in their back or in their bodies, they like that just little bit of extra pad, little cushion and shock absorption between the saddle and their back. And I personally, for those of us riders who may have some issues, I've got a little back arthritis, I like this too. Feels better for me. Good girl. So this little pad, again, we're going to tuck up in here, and I would have it with my normal saddle pad, and it just sits up right in the little curve behind her scapula. My saddle's a little too far forward here, but right in that little curve behind her scapula, and runs back to the back of the saddle. Again, and so if I have a horse that I'm bringing back into condition, I will often start out having them in that sheepskin pad. She was in one initially when I first got her, and she was quite thin, no muscle. And then as they build muscle, you can graduate to this. And then maybe ultimately you use nothing, or for some people, they like to just keep on with this little thin line pad. So those are two options for pads, and just two situations where they can be useful. There are other reasons and other times that you might use these pads as well, but just that little bit of advice for today for some situations that a lot of people come into. Horses that are gaining weight, horses that are getting back into condition. Thanks a lot. Happy trails.